don't believe in all of those things, but it is a reality. Nationalism is a reality, nation state are reality, borders are reality. But the fact that even if it is voluntary or involuntary, the choice of where you live shouldn't be an obstacle or shouldn't question your authenticity or commitment to the country or to the cause of liberation or modernity. So that is important to say. So everyone has a role to play. But at the time that we started working, there was a period, of course, of renaissance after the, if you look at how African art is received in the West. Now, why the West? Because the West, even for those who are living here, becomes a center of validation. If you have a gallerist in London and so on, unfortunately, it's something to do with capitalist system on the art market, is that there is the metropole and there is the former colony. And the link between Khartoum and London or Accra and London becomes very important in terms of this, of the art market. Okay, so artists look for centers like that. You can't tell me that an artist who lives in Accra getting a show at the Tate Modern, they will reject it. They will be very happy to do it because it is a center of validation. So, but at the same time, that doesn't mean neglecting what is happening in the country. There is a need for having our own centers of validation. But what was happening? In the early 60s, there was that kind of hope. But it was definitely with the structural adjustment, with the repeated military coup and the change towards one-party system, and the failure even of the most progressive liberation movement, whether it's Zimbabwe or others, there was a period in which structural adjustment plus the greed and the cruelty of our own leaders, there was a destruction of the art education. Even those centers like Khartoum, Makerere, Bulawayo, Dakar, and all of those places really went down. And most people, you see it in now, people migrating, universities that had really were centers of research and publications and journals, Ibadan, Khartoum, and others. They're all, you either raise chicken in your backyard, you drive a taxi driver, or you migrate to the West. So, but that shouldn't question, because we should understand this as a framework in terms of why each of us has a role to play. So we came into this period where there was the downhill, whatever you call it, meaning things that in decline. So, and that's the question that we face. Okay, so from our, whatever you call it, centers of privilege or positions, how do we do it? There's an option, of course. If you try to do it in the continent, at the time at least, we tried. Trust me. Bureaucracy, transfer of money, even if you get your funding, how do you really get it into the continent? I've had experiments in South Africa with the Johannesburg Biennale. I've seen projects that we tried to do in Dakar and others. So at that time, even in Sudan, so you're faced with bureaucracy, you're faced with greed, you're faced with people who want to come. So it just becomes a place where you can't do that. That doesn't mean it's not a struggle to do things in Venice. I thought this practical background is very important to think about. You may then ask me, why Venice? For us at the time, we felt it's a center of validation. It's an open art market. The idea of inserting, because we believe that there are good artists in the continent who are either living abroad or in the continent, that we're sure if you feature them within Venice, if you go to Venice at the time of the opening of the biennial, the whole art world is centered. From curators, directors of museums, that's how people come look for talent and so forth. Of course, they go to other biennales like Havana and others, but we didn't have a good biennials, except Dakar that started at the time. Then you have Cairo, which is old, but it was mostly most African, Arab-oriented. Never really looked at the south of Egypt. But things have changed since then. But at the time, for us, it was very important to start this initiative, which briefly we called it we met myself, Okwi, Olu, and many other, and then we also had other allies from the West itself, and we've also involved people from the country. At that time, we had Koyapur from Dhaka, she's based in Dakar. We've had Marilyn Martin, we've had Emma Bedford. We have several people that we involved in this forum, and we decided to start with an encouragement from the Ford Foundation, and also Prince Claus Fund, African PSO. We happen to know people there who are of African descent who have the will to help us. So, in a way, it's certain things that aligned that helped us a great deal. It was a great moment. And we by that time, we've already had a record of curating, either myself in the Whitechapel, or who is already well known, and did the Johannesburg Biennial, we started doing other things. So things have changed, and we found that from that position of strength, you can actually pull something in Venice. So our initiative we call Africa in Venice. It's done by something called the Forum for Africa. And so we did about 3 editions of that. The first one was, of course, the show that is authentic eccentric. The second one was it's called Fault Line. And the third one was an initiative that we worked with the curators to insert African artists. And the fourth one we tried to do in 2003, and we've had it's a long story. We tried with Robert Storr, who was the director there, and there was it's a long story that I can talk about it if you want to, but after that actually Ford and others shifted orientation and never really funding, so we felt at that time we accomplished what we wanted to do, which is putting Africa in the map. You may ask me, how did we do it, and what is the lesson from that? One thing that I can give you, and it may be a good thing to mention, some of you may be younger curators and others who want to question, how did we do it? We felt like when we established Inca, we wanted a first-class gem, well-designed. Doesn't have to be what Westerners think, anything African had to be dented or a little bit not looking okay, but they say it's okay. It's fine. Exhibitions don't open in time in Dakar. It's fine. It's Africa. So you come to the opening, half of the shows have not been installed. It's fine. It's Africa. No, we did not believe in that. We felt we have to do it the same standard, if not better. And I think we succeeded in that. If you look at the design, and we were lucky to have really great designers, we decided to do it that way. Good articles, good content, well-designed, appealing. And that's the secret of the success. But it's also involving Africans and non-Africans in the field. Like we didn't want to establish another center. We wanted to expand the narrative of our history, not by creating another center, but expanding the narrative. So the same model we try to do in Venice. To give you an example of the show that I did before, which is authentic eccentric, we try to think about how we can strategize, finding the place. We were lucky to have some linkages and people that we had lots of goodwill at people. I could mention many names. Well, Italians, Roberto Ulisse, Chiara Vittola, all of those people, they were positions within Venice, the foundation. And they found us the space. It's a trick. First thing is to find the space. And then you don't double marginalizing Africa there. You have to find a place central. That's what we looked for. We had a place next to the Academia Bridge, facing the Academia, the oldest academy of art in Venice or Italy. So we positioned our show. We found the best designer who does at Miami, at Basel, and other places, Tom Cosmo, to help us with design. We were lucky to have one of the best Dutch designers, Irma Boom, as you always correct, to design the catalog. We also recruited the best writers, and we divided the catalog. If you have seen that, I don't know if you have it in your language.
We have it in the note.
Well designed, won award for design, and we had a section of theoretical essays and a section of articles on every single artist we choose. We thought practically we have to have a smaller number but a huge impact. How do you think about it at the time? And I'll tell you a secret. I thought, okay, the best thing in Venice is to find a hook for people to come to the show. We were lucky that Yinka Solivari was a good friend, so we convinced him to be part of the show. He's really great, and he agreed to be part of it. Then we added Zainab Sadira from Algeria. We added Willem Bishop from South Africa, Bernie Sell from South Africa, and Maria Magdalena Campos Ponce, an Afro-Cuban. So from the beginning, we wanted, the show is called Authentic Eccentric. Authentic is a play on the idea of authenticity of Africa. That's always had to be authentic, had to look a certain way. That's the perception of Africa. The second, eccentric. We played on the idea of eccentricity, but it's also in deconstructing the word eccentric. It can be a formal center. It can be a formal center. So there's a play with words. But our focus in general is to focus on African conceptualism, because there's already a roster of artists who are working within that world. Okay? Yinka Solivari, Zainab Sadira, Bernie Sell, all of them did installation, multimedia work, and so on. We felt we should start with that. Selection. We wanted to disturb the narrative of Africa. This idea of the arbitrary division between North and South we broke it. We had Rashid Quraishi from Algeria, worked within an Arabic Islamic mode. Zainab Sadira, Algerian, worked from a feminist perspective. Bernie Sell from South Africa. Willem Bishop, a white South African. Maria Magdalena, an Afro-Cuban. So the notion of Africa becomes not this geographic entity, but a global historic entity. So from the beginning, we wanted to do that. But it's also, you have, these are great artists, and you have the hook there. You have Yinka, the well-known. So people came. And it was the most successful, so a good catalog with theoretical essays, a good number of artists, small, manageable, a good opening, having a team that's professional, press package on time, show open on time.
And even the position.
Everything was there at the time, even the catalog. It was a struggle, believe me, because Venice, okay, could be like Lagos and others, is really a place. It's a trading center from the medieval period and earlier. So you have to deal with a lot of balance. Insurance, shipping, it's not an easy thing. Dealing with Venetians who are the real hustlers. You have to think about how you find your way. Shipping is always just through boats. There are no trucks. So there is a lot of things that we manage. But trust me, with every corner we always find somebody who will help us. And we're very grateful. These are allies, I call them, within the European context, who believed in the idea of equality, believed in the inclusion, believed in all of those things. So that's the and then of course we thought theoretically about the concept. We wanted to highlight the idea of moving in and out of Africa, of the idea of conceptualism, what it meant, how do you theorize it, and so that's the theme. So that's all led to the success. It was not, there's a formula there that we thought about, and we thought that's the best way to. So the second one, we managed as a forum to select Ghislaine Tawadros, an Egyptian, who had an Ineba, to curate the show, and she called it Fault Lines. She did her own theme. We never, as a forum, intervened in the content, except we facilitated. But it's a combination of things. Africans who managed to be in those places as officers, like we've had Damien Kono, a Congolese, good friend. We were friends in graduate school, and the whole thing started in a conversation in Bridge in Venice. I happened to have curated the show earlier with support of Rockefeller called Modernities and Memories. And he met me and said, why don't you have your own African pavilion? I told him, I don't mind an African show. Forget pavilion because I can't speak on behalf of the whole Africa. We didn't want to do an African pavilion. We wanted to do an African show. But we have to do it right. So he promised the funding if we have a concert. Myself and Olu and we sat down, we wrote all of these things, and we did the forum, we had a series of conversations. And the link to Africa here is very important. We actually, the first conference, press conference for the project in the African We did it in that part. So people cannot blame us for not really reaching out.